Hey guys, it's Alvin Taveras, President and CEO of Built to Rent. I'm here in beautiful Austin, Texas, the music capital of the world. And we're talking specifically about the BRRRR and the 5 reasons why it no longer works in today's market. So we're going to start with the one thing that has changed from the previous couple of years, and it's the interest rate. And here's the thing. Let's say you find a property for cheap, you rehab it inexpensively, no surprises, and then you go ahead and refinance it. And you find out that the interest rate that you're going to refinance into is 7 or 8%. Now you have to try to figure out whether that property cash flows. Dude, to try to find a property that cash flows at 7 or 8% is absolutely brutal. And it's the number one reason why the BRRRR method no longer works. It's the interest rate you're going to refinance, especially if you're going to refinance at the higher valuation. Just run the numbers beforehand, figure out, hey, if I take out the $50K, the whatever amount of money, how much am I in the hole for? How much am I paying monthly? And can the new rent support it? All right, number 2 is going to be higher lending standards. And this is both for hard money lender for just the acquisition, where they're probably not going to give you as much as they previously would have. People were able to get loans of 100% plus an additional 10, 20% for that rehab, which is essentially maybe 120% of the purchase price to get the loan. And they'll basically finance the repairs. In today's market, that's no longer the case, right? You're not going to get easy lending like that. And so the challenge is that when it's more stringent, if you're not able to pay it off in time, now you start paying points on your hard money loan, and that gets it wildly more expensive. Just the lending options aren't there as they were before. Number 3 is basically your cost to rehab the property has not gone down. So we have seen inflation slow down. Now it's around 3% or so, but it has not gone down. So your cost of labor, your cost of material, your cost of capital are all more expensive, and you're not able to predict you're going to be able to refinance at a higher valuation, which means your margins are even tighter than ever. It's just difficult to get good people. We're still at a tight labor supply. So the rising cost of rehabbing just makes it super difficult. And this is especially true if you're a smaller fish, if you're just getting started, you're just done a few a year. You're competing against people who are doing this like a well-oiled machine. Or you're competing with builders who have entire communities being built up, whole row of housing. And you might be able to pay a little bit more, but you're not going to give them that job security that more work will come in the future. Number 4 is that we're just not in the same appreciating market. The market's not going to save you. During the COVID time period, markets were going up 15, 20%, depending on where you are. Here in Austin, it was around 25%, was astronomical. So even if you bought a bad deal, but if you got that appreciation, you were saved and you were taken care of. In today's market, you have to almost predict that we're not going to see any appreciation, or it might even be negative. So when you start factoring in a negative market when you're trying to do a rehab, it makes it super difficult to have that confidence to go ahead and move forward. And again, when the market's a little bit tough, it's even more important to be pessimistic. Being optimistic is not going to make your deal better. It just isn't. All right, now we're going to talk about appreciation. Appreciation is just one of those things that it's hard to calculate, hard to make it work. You don't know where they're going to land, but we're just not in a market where we're wildly optimistic, which is why a lot of our build-to-rent investors are actually leaning more towards safety. They like markets that haven't experienced that big boom during COVID, and they like the steady markets. So we're seeing a lot of those secondary, more boring, more stable markets, or we're getting some of the best returns. And looking at permitting data and population growth tells you the story. Essentially, if your permitted dating is higher than your population growth, you're in trouble. If you have lagging permits and population has grown up, that's a sign it's a pretty good market. So guys, here in Austin, rents are down across the board. We've seen a surge in inventory, and there's just not the same demand there was during COVID. And so when you're in a market like this where your rents are declining, you're trying to catch a falling knife. And here's the thing. If you have a single family, a duplex, or a quad, and you're competing against an apartment complex that has over 100 units has amenities, has 3-4 months rent for free. You can't compete with that. So in apartment buildings, math is different than yours. A lot of apartment complexes will buy properties interest only, and they only start paying the premium 3 years down the road. And a lot of their main objective is to fill the units. If they get to 90% occupancy, they're fine. They're happy with that because their goal a lot of times is to sell it to somebody else. Versus you're trying to actually make cash flow. That developer that built that 100, 200 unit apartment complex has 3-year runway to eventually raise their rents, but right now chasing for occupancy. So they're willing to be more aggressive on rents, more aggressive on incentives, things that you can't afford to do. And they have better lending options. Again, a lot of them are interest only, and a lot of them are being financed by investors. So they're able to put 50% down, pay interest only, and their game is more on the short-term exit. And so here's the thing. If you are looking at doing BRRRR, I need you to talk to someone who's currently doing it. Talking to someone who's actually very active and not trying to sell you something. There are still guys who have businesses designed around selling you these BRRRR methods, marketing strategies, campaigns, mailers, whatever. There's a whole industry that's pushing the BRRRR method. And that industry doesn't stop just because it's a bad time to do a BRRRR. So what you have to do is actually cut through that. And there are a lot of costs that people who are doing the BRRRR don't mention. So for example, all of the closing costs, you may refinance a property 3 times, the same property 3 times. Those are 3 separate closing costs. Additionally, they're not going to talk about the holding costs. I've never seen anybody show me the numbers of a rehab and actually include the holding costs. These are the costs for the insurance, the mortgage payments, because if you pay interest, you're not getting that money back. So a lot of those costs that people share with you publicly aren't actually included in their numbers, but they are absolutely real, something that you will experience if you decide to go down this path. So I've been a Debbie Downer. I've been sharing a lot of bad information. And what I'm trying to educate you guys on is that the market is always changing and there's always new opportunity to go around the corner. Listen, I built my wealth initially rehabbing properties, paying off all of my debt, and ended up becoming financially free. That's what I did. I rehabbed properties. I swung the hammers. I did the work. Now, I never want to do it again, but there may be a market that comes in a couple years where rehabs make more sense. Not in today's market. A lot of times new construction properties are selling for cheaper than existing homes. Your tenants prefer a newer construction home. You also get way better incentives on a new construction property. So we are selling properties here at Build to Rent where our investors are getting interest rates as low as 3.75% interest rate. We're also giving them 2 years free property management. So compare your property to that. What's the final interest rate? 3.75 versus 7, 2 years free property management versus paying for property management. And again, what do your tenants prefer? Do they prefer your rehab or do they prefer a new construction property? Additionally, again, I will stress this over and over and over again. In today's market, the opportunity is new construction. They are selling for cheaper than an existing home. Builders have to sell. A homeowner actively living in a property can decide to stay. People forget that half of all homeowners, half their houses paid off. Another half has a lot of equity in the property or they have a low interest rate. They don't have to sell. A builder absolutely has to sell, which is why we're able to get way better incentives for our investors. In today's market, the solution is to figure out where do you get the best deal from? And it's in new construction. We package our deals together. And so we have the insurance tied up. We have the property management. We have the title company. We have everything figured out. And we do a lot of the planning and work done ahead of you. I'm working with a lot of builders who are building sometimes 2,000 properties a year. So they are a well-oiled machine. They have a 210 warranty on the properties, which means if anything's wrong with the property, it's either the tenant's fault or the builder's fault. So you have a lot more assurances there. And I'll conclude by saying they might be a market in the near future where BRRRR makes sense. Right now, it absolutely doesn't. There's too many landmines. And I'll leave you with this. You have a core competency. There's something that you do that's better than everyone else. I would recommend doubling down on that and treating real estate like investment. You put money into it, it funds itself, you reap the benefits of that investment, but you don't have to continuously put work into that. Rehabbing properties is a job. It's a second job that never ends. I've gone down that path and hopefully I will never do it again. Hey guys, I almost ended the video without thanking everybody who has subscribed to the channel. It means a lot to me. I also appreciate the comments. A lot of people are comparing me to Andrew Tate, which I'll accept. Someone else mentioned that I look Egyptian and even sound Egyptian. I'll also happily accept that. But I do appreciate the comments. If you have any suggestions for more videos, obviously I'd love to hear from them. My whole purpose of building this channel is to educate people and to share the knowledge that I have. Now, if we end up working together, that's phenomenal, but that's not my intent. I genuinely enjoy helping people out and sharing my information. This has been a very fun journey for me. So if you like this video, hit the like button. If this is your first time watching it, please subscribe. My whole goal is to provide more and more value. So if you have any suggestions, have any recommendations, I would love to hear them. I like for this to be an active group where we can all kind of collaborate and share ideas together. Again, thank you for watching the video all the way through to the end. We'll see you next time. Hey!